Hi, I'm Summer Inanen.
Hey, I'm Sarah Ramsden, and we are nutritionists answering your questions. Except this time we're not answering a question. We're talking about ourselves.
Hope you're interested.
Last time we talked about me and my health history and how I got to where I am today and why I am a nutritionist. And today we're going to talk about summer.
Yeah.
So
get ready because it's going to be like 3 hours.
Maybe we'll be crying.
Just kidding. I'll try and keep it the Cole's Notes version.
Where did it all begin? This long journey to like where we are right now.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I worked in a corporate job for like 10 years, a lot like you.
Yeah.
And I really was never that much into like health and fitness in a good way. Like I was into it in a vanity way. Like the only, it's like you work out to lose weight, and that was...
Tone your arms.
Yeah, to get toned, you know? So that was really, like, and I was never an athletic person, and I always, like, really hated the way I looked. Like, hated my body all through growing up. Like, just had a lot of hatred for it. So,
But you're gorgeous.
Oh, stop. No. Thank you. That's what I encourage people to say now. Thank you. Okay. So, yeah, I was working at a corporate job, and I wanted to try a new kind of exercise routine. So a friend of mine was like, I'm doing this boot camp. It's at a gym. It's at a CrossFit gym. This was 7 years ago. So this was like, no one had heard of CrossFit. People didn't know what it was 7 years ago. And so I just heard boot camp, and I was like, boot camp.
Booty camp.
Toned arms. Let's do it. So I went in, did it. Anyways, long story short, fell in love with it. Ended up joining CrossFit and just loved it.
Yeah.
But the trainer, told me that I should be eating, good quality protein, lots of vegetables, nuts and seeds, fruit. Basically cutting out everything that I was eating, because I was eating, standard low fat, Special K, skim milk, tons of soy, typical dieter's diet.
Whole wheat pasta.
Yeah, whole wheat pasta. And so I thought he was an idiot, and I totally resisted it. Over time, I decided to gradually start to introduce things and give it a try. And as a result, I started to see my body change. So my main goal was vanity. I wanted to lose weight. But really, I was suffering from a bunch of health issues that I never realized were connected to the foods that I was eating. So I had depression. I had been on antidepressants since I was about 13 years old. So more than half my life, I was on antidepressants. I had insomnia, so I had sleeping pills for that. And I also used to get really bad, what I later found out was reactive hypoglycemia, which is when
massive.
Your blood sugar crashes. So like 10 or 11 a.m., I would turn into a mess, like literally be shaking, get really moody, really bitchy around people. It's that hangry feeling that we talk about. And I've told you this before, and I say this sometimes, but it was so bad that I would often get hot flashes where I would have to actually just leave the room and go and take all my clothes off in the bathroom and sweat it out.
I always get a bit stressed when she goes to the bathroom and she's spending, and you're in there for too long. I'm like, oh my gosh, taking all my clothes off.
Yeah, I haven't had one of those incidences in a while, but I do have to watch what I eat. Like if I have too much caffeine, I still have, I have a more sensitive blood sugar reaction than most people, I think. So anyways, when I started to change the foods that I was eating around, like the reactive hypoglycemia went away like within a week. I didn't even really notice it for a while. I was like, hey, like,
oh yeah, I had one of those.
I haven't had a hot flash in a while. Life's good. But then I started to, really learn about it, like really get into the science about gut health and gluten and inflammatory responses as it relates to this issues I was having. So insomnia, depression. And that's when I decided to try to go off of my antidepressants. It was a really long process. Like obviously you need to work with a doctor. So it's not just something you do. It took me a year to slowly, gradually decline my dosage. A year. And I wasn't even on that.
When you decided, when you had that thought, okay, I want to try and come off my antidepressants, what was it at that time that made you think that after all these years that was something that you could do?
I just felt really happy, stable, healthy, and I had tried to come off of them before, and I immediately felt depressed again.
Okay.
And so I was like, you know what? I just want to give it a shot. I think because I was really into eating clean and like really putting healthy things into my body, that I knew that I wanted to get any sort of chemicals out of my life, like out of my body. And so coming off of medication was a big thing. And I'm not going to lie, one of the side effects of antidepressants is weight gain. And so I was still in the mindset of I need to be skinnier. I was still not happy with myself. Mm-hmm. And so that was also part of the plan, was like I can come off the antidepressants and lose more weight. So even though I was eating really healthy, I still had really bad...
You still had that kind of underlying, that undertone of body image and weight loss.
Way bad relationship with my body still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were paleo at this time. You were eating all good foods, but you still kind of had this lingering doubt, this lingering kind of
and so I came off the antidepressants successfully, which was amazing, but it still had this like lingering bad relationship with food and my body. So felt like I needed to keep pushing it harder. So cut more carbs, cut more calories. Maybe I'm eating too much fat, and it got to the point where I was like working out 7 days a week or 7 times a week, so sometimes twice a day, and eating 1,100 calories a day because I was doing a paleo zone combination, which is the most idiotic thing that you can do. I was at my skinniest, but I still hated myself. So, and that's when things started to shut down. So my hormones started to shut down, and I started to my body wouldn't lose weight. And that's when I was going through a lot of stress, because that's when I had decided to go back to school and quit my corporate job. And so I was working full time and going in school. And that's when, I kind of reached adrenal fatigue.
And that's not just, I think we both pay attention to our adrenals now just because we both have our own businesses. So we supplement to kind of support that whole stress response and the HPA axis. But this was full on adrenal fatigue. Yeah.
So my estrogen levels were the same as a postmenopausal woman. I had no cycle, and my thyroid hormones were down-regulated. So yeah, I went to see a naturopath, and she was like, "I'm surprised you're awake." But the reason why was because I was eating such good foods, it was overshadowing what was really happening in my body.
Your body was really clinging on.
It was buffering it. It was buffering the response.
Yeah.
Had I had a poor diet, I would have been in a much worse condition.
Well, that's when you would have had a diagnosis from the doctor.
Yeah.
Because even where you're at, the doctor, they don't really have anything to do.
Yeah, and my doctor still, even when I took the results from the naturopath to the doctor was just there's nothing wrong with you. You're fine.
Right.
She didn't understand hormones.
Yikes. Okay, so you started working on that. What did it take to kind of to pull yourself back out of that adrenal fatigue hole? Yeah,
that was a really big wake-up call, especially because the first thing that I was most upset about was the fact that my naturopath was like, "You can't do CrossFit anymore."
Oh my god.
I was like, I don't care that I have no hormones. I'm just upset that I can't work out. And that's when that was really the crazy train that was going on in my head. And so I was forced to just back off of everything. And it was right at the time that I ended up leaving my job. So I was like, okay, I need to quit my job. We were just...
Your corporate job.
Yeah, we were just about done school. And that was when I was like, okay, I need to just stop. Stop the working out. So I stopped. I did really slow movements. I called it the GIMP program because...
But you had to really remove yourself from the class format because that can really work against you.
Yeah, I had to just stop, and I had to just focus on sleep, and I had to eat more. I had to eat more carbohydrates, and really I needed to work on my relationship with food and myself. And that's what it really forced me to do was to okay, how did you get to this crazy point in the first place? It was because you had...
It was really driven by that self-image.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I did a ton of work on that with reading books and just kind of letting go, really. And then also just changing my relationship with food. So stop the diet mentality. Get rid of labels. Get rid of this food is bad, this food is good. Stop being so neurotic and just eat. And
eat just good quality whole food.
Yeah, and not stress about it. When I was at my skinniest, I would be eating, so good, and then I'd go on vacation and let it all go, blow it all up, and I would gain once I gained 7 pounds in 10 days when I went to Portugal, because I was like, my body was probably just like, calories. But I used to go through those cycles.
Interesting that you say when I was at my skinniest, whereas now you're like, man, I can overhead squat however much. Like, it's not about that now. It's not even in your mindset. Like, if someone tells me that I'm skinny, I find it so insulting.
Yeah, no, I wasn't happy. Like, I've put on weight, and I'm fine with it, because I can eat whatever I want. Like, I can be around cake, and it doesn't bother me. And if I want a piece, I'll have it. I don't, like, freak out and stress about it now. Like, I don't overeat it. It's like, it's a whole other world. And like, I'd rather carry a couple extra pounds and be able to eat whatever I want, feel really good, have hormones that sort of work properly now.
It's a continual process. It really is.
Yeah, I did a lot of damage. And just be happy and free around food and feel good in my clothes. And I'm like, that's the most important thing.
I know how much you can eat. Seriously. You put a rack of ribs in front of the scale.
It's true.
Good luck.
Gotta feed the muscles, right? Feed the muscles. So now, and that's really like what I channel into my business. So self-acceptance kind of coming before everything, because if you don't accept yourself, then everything's going to be that much harder. Like, the fact that I didn't accept myself was the reason why I went down the crazy train path in the first place. And I was never happy, even when I was like, when I look back and I'm like, wow, like, you can see muscle definition, but I was still never happy. And
it would never have been enough.
It was never enough.
It wouldn't matter how much you did. You could have looked like Cindy Crawford in her prime, and it still wouldn't have been enough.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why you have to accept like who you are right now in order to make healthy changes and have a good relationship with food. Food is never about food. It's always about you and the issues that you have.
So what do you do on a day-to-day basis? Like today, you've done a ton of work to get back to where you are now, even though you're still working. Like, what's your perspective today on taking care of yourself and just being wary of your past?
Yeah, so I have to watch myself in terms of pushing myself too hard. Like, exercise addiction is definitely something that still like I struggle with. Like, I think about, I love exercise. I do. I love it. But I have to like watch myself, not push myself too hard. And sometimes I don't listen to my own advice. I scold myself. I just have to watch it. I have to add in enough rest and recovery. I have to make sure that like I'm eating enough, listening to my body, feeding myself when I'm hungry, and just like really putting focus on like rest and recovery and setting boundaries for myself with my job and just in life in general.
Yeah, even socially.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been on the receiving end of I can't go out tonight. I have to have a night in front of the TV.
Yes.
I just have to have it at home, do nothing in my PJs night.
Yeah, I have to build it in because otherwise I get overworked. Like, once your adrenals go, like, you become more sensitive. Like, you're more likely to fall back into it. And so, like, it's the same thing. Like, we both have to really watch it and just set boundaries and say no.
Yeah. This week I'm sleeping. That's my focus for this week.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I do with my clients. Like, I help women who have come from a similar place where they don't have that self-acceptance. They struggle with loving their bodies. They want to lose weight. Sometimes they need to, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's more about self-acceptance. Mm-hmm. But it's also about changing their relationship with food. So, people who have done a lot of dieting but gone through those cycles of like deprivation and then sabotage, like that all or nothing mentality, getting people to a good place where they can sit in a room with cake in front of them or whatever their trigger food is and be totally content and happy, have some if they want it.
And still be able to carry on a conversation with someone while it's sat there in front of them.
Yeah, exactly. And not, feel the need to like binge out or anything like that, like, and really addressing the issues that go around food. So that's
I feel like from my perspective, you do a lot of work undoing all the damage that the norms in society put on people. Like, people doing Weight Watchers in their teens and cycles like that. Like, really, you're undoing a lot of the marketing and the crap that is thrown at people. Like, it's calories, it's deprivation, it's exercise, it's like you just have like it's unraveling a whole life of bad messages.
Yeah, it's all punishment, right? It's all punishment, and it's about getting people to love themselves. They don't have to punish themselves.
Yeah.
And it sounds daunting, but it's just you just have to put in the work. Mm-hmm. Like, same thing as you change your food with change your food. You have to change the way you treat yourself. It's like it's a process, and it can be done.
Yeah. And Summer talks about this on her website continuously. So if you're interested in this stuff, or if you hear some of yourself in her story, like follow her on her website and sign up for email list, because she has some pretty wicked articles.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Cool.
There you go, partner.
All right.
And if you have any questions for us, send us an email at asksummerandsarah@gmail.com, and we'll hopefully feature you in an upcoming episode.
Yes. Talk to you soon.
See ya.